Well, welcome to a very special podcast that we're calling The Power of Community today. I'm Ana González. I'm the Executive Director at Teach for America Rio Grande Valley, and I have with me today Deborah Cordova and Fabiola Urgel-Caporusso, who both serve as co-chairs of our Honor Roll Gala Committee, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that, but welcome, Deborah and Fabi.
Thank you so much, Ana. I'm extremely delighted to be here today, especially alongside Fabi and Ana, and the power of community to be able to share that with our TFA regional community out there.
Hi, ladies. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm just glad that I'm here, and I'm excited to share my thoughts, my ideas, and why I love this cause that I support deeply.
Well, thank you both for being here. And today we're going to be talking about something that's very near and dear to our hearts, and that's the education of our students in the Rio Grande Valley. And if you know, part of the Rio Grande Valley's success has all been centered on our community and how we work alongside each other to accomplish great things for kids. So over the last decade, what we've experienced in the Rio Grande Valley are many successes, right? We've seen our graduation rates soar. We've seen many successes with our pre-K through 12 programs. We've seen a stronger college readiness in our region. More students are matriculating into an institution of higher education, whether it be a 2-year institution or a 4-year institution. And so all of that was done collectively in the Rio Grande Valley, and in many of the metrics that we measure here in our region, the RGV actually meets or exceeds the state outcomes. So we've really come a long way, and again, that's been the power of our community. But despite so many successes that we've experienced, there's always room for more improvement in our educational systems, right? And one of the things that I've been thinking and reflecting about significantly is that the pandemic hit us not too long ago, right? And our students and our teachers had to take this big pivot to learning and to teaching remotely, something that was unimaginable in our school systems. And so they really did the best that they could with the hand that they've been dealt, right? And so because of these big pivots and changes that we were unaccustomed to, but we had to implement to keep school going for our students, there was actually a regression in learning that we saw in reading and in mathematics. And so we've had to experience those challenges so that we can begin to think as a community what is next and what is necessary in our educational system for our students. And so this also makes me think about another challenge in education when we had this remote learning taking place, right? There was also this sense of community that was lost. And for me, it's really important for students to have a sense of belonging so that they can learn and thrive and reach their fullest potential. And we've seen, right, over these last few years post-pandemic that those educational challenges continue for our students. So at the end of the day, I think these are the fundamental reasons in my own educational journey that I've experienced, right? Great transformation, challenges that are still happening. But I feel like I'm a direct outcome of our educational system. I've been born and raised in the Rio Grande Valley. I've gone through the public education system. I come from a low-income community, but I had the privilege, unlike many of my peers who are my best friends living next to me or living behind me, and I don't know if you all experienced this, but I had the fortune of having exceptional teachers who saw in me and tapped my fullest potential so that I could achieve academic outcomes. And really that's put me and my entire family on a completely different trajectory. And I've had the privilege of also serving as an educator long time in our region for almost 30 years as a teacher, as a principal, as a district level administrator. And fundamentally, I believe that all of our children are worthy of this exceptional education experience. But I know you all have your own experiences. What does all this make you think?
Oh, Ana, just listening to you about you sharing your experience and where you are now, it's important for me to share with the community and with Fabi that, and with the TFA community as well, how important and honored and privileged I feel to be able to serve on the Regional Advisory Board. But I want to take you back because you shared your history and your experience, and I think that us growing up, that's part of our community and where we're at now. So I wanted to share, so education has always been extremely important in our family, but my parents, especially my father, as probably many of the students here in the Rio Grande Valley, only had a 6th grade education. Despite all of his successes, he instilled upon us that education was extremely important. I went through the Mission public school system, was born here in the Rio Grande Valley, and also I'm a product, right, of the Rio Grande Valley. But teachers are everything. Till this day, I can recall certain teachers that impacted me and why, as you mentioned, right, the power of community, I chose to be part of Teach for America, and how important Teach for America is for our students in the Rio Grande Valley. It's important for everyone to have an equitable education. And us being able to provide that through the different programs that we have for Teach for America, it excites me to be able to hear of the successes that you mentioned earlier. While we may have regress, we're back to progression, because I've heard transformation is one of the key words in multiple organizations for 2024 as we continue to expand. But everything that Teach for America does, from getting students ready, right, not just college readiness, but career readiness, and be able to make sure that the students understand that. And they want to learn. I've been in the classrooms as an adult, and I want to share how I got involved with Teach for America. I know that Anna, you and John Stevens reached out to me, and I said, well, let me learn more about Teach for America.
Yes.
I, like many others out there, probably knew the mission, but I wanted to understand further the impact, the societal change that it was having, not only on students, but the community as a whole. And so I visited, as you may recall, Anna, an IDEA classroom. And I was just so excited to see one of the teachers, how innovative she was with her instructions. And of course, that's a product of the training that they get at TFA. And not only that, Fabi, I experienced going in on a Saturday and seeing the teachers, our core members, getting that training, and just seeing how excited they were to be able to learn in different ways throughout different, and they all come from different industries. That, for me, was a change where I said, I want to be part of Teach for America. I want to impact the community as a whole. And so I'm just excited that I had the opportunity to experience that. And now, several years later, I'm here serving on the board as vice chair. And so I'm just looking forward to everything else that Teach for America has in store for our students.
And we love how you help us lead and co-create a really positive future for our students, because really it takes all of us. And that's why we're calling this segment, right, the power of community. And Fabi, I know you probably have similar stories or anecdotes that you want to share, like Deborah and I shared. What are you thinking about your own connections and experiences with education?
Well, I'm not a product of the public system of the United States. I'm actually a product of the educational system in Mexico. But I moved here to start college. And I would say one thing that I tell everyone that I know: if it was not for education, I wouldn't be where I'm at in life, period. As someone, as an immigrant, as someone that grew up, I come from a long-standing family of educators, teachers, principals in Mexico. But coming here, what made the difference is the education I received and the professors that believed in me, because I came here without any connections. I mean, English is clearly my second language. So I always promised myself when I was going through all the struggles that I went through, that whenever I could, I was going to give back, because I firmly believe that everyone should have access to the equal education, but the quality of education should be equal for everyone, because that is going to be the only differentiation that makes someone succeed. I mean, not the only one, but it's plays a very important role in how the outcome of our lives. So that is my connection with education. But I always tell, now that I'm on this side, now that I see everything that teachers do, everything that Teach for America teachers do, it blows my mind the impact that one teacher can have in the life of a student, like Deborah was saying, like Anna was saying. So I keep thinking, I want every kid to have that. You can do it. I'm here for you. You're worthy. You deserve this. And if I can be any part, and I can play any role in making sure that happens, I will make sure that it happens, and that I help as much as possible, especially now that I have a daughter and that I see the importance of her knowing that she's smart, that she's important, that her dreams are valid, that it does not, and it shouldn't matter where you come from or your current circumstances should not dictate. It should be as a level playing field as possible.
Absolutely.
And I think that Teach for America closes that gap from where you potentially are, or where you're standing and where you can potentially be. And I think that's the power of education, but also that's the power of community.
I love those thoughts from both of you, and that matters so much. And you too, right, are examples of leaders in our community who are behind our students and who understand that access to an equitable education is super important. And that's what Teach for America does, right? In terms of finding equity-oriented leaders, we recruit and find those exceptional leaders to make an initial 2-year commitment to teach in high-need schools in our community. But beyond that, we're supporting and developing those leaders to make sure that they're affording students those opportunities that I think, Fabi, you had, Deborah, and I each experienced in our educational journey, right? And like many of our students, we have different circumstances impacting us. So how we support and develop teachers is really important, because part of the solution that Teach for America believes in is that we need systems to change, right? Teachers are one layer within the system, but our campus leaders, our district leaders, and the broader community really are the ones that impact systemic change. And so when we all understand what equity means, what it means to develop and support teachers who are leading in our classrooms, and we work together collectively to have impact system-wide, that's how we experience transformation. And Teach for America has been doing that now for over 30 years in the Rio Grande Valley. And that is something that we will continue to do. But what stands out in our community is that we don't work in isolation. We work with community members like you and our broader community here in the Rio Grande Valley to ensure that our students are having those exceptional experiences. So Deborah, I know in the beginning of our podcast, you were talking about some encounters that you've had and experiences with Teach for America that really validated why you wanted to be part of our advisory board, and you've been our co-chair for our gala now for several years. But I'm curious, like, was there a teacher, was there a pivotal experience that you saw part of our core members, you know, in full swing of learning and developing their leadership that you want to share?
Sure. So I'll share one just last month. And of course, Fabi and I are the co-chairs for the Honor Roll Gala. We had one of our teachers come in and speak to our committee. I was so inspired by the teacher. He mentioned to us that his students who have graduated still contact him and are so appreciative of everything that he did as a teacher. It's moments like that when you're sitting there in the room, and I'm sure you felt it, Fabi.
Oh, yes, it was powerful.
I'm not only honored to be part of Teach for America, but very honored to be part of Teach for America here in the Rio Grande Valley, because our students need to have that equitable education and a high quality education from teachers that our students are able to compete globally globally with everyone else. So that's one of the moments, that I can go back to and say recently, but John's always done a really good job about having teachers attend either our meetings or attend our committee gala meetings so that we can see what we're prospering in and how impactful they are. I do want to share that, of course, to have high quality and equitable education, we need resources for programs. And the resources that we obtain are for the professional development of our teachers and for our operations. And so we have now another innovative program that I briefly want to touch on, Anna, which is the Ignite Fellowship. So you have instruction in the classroom, but in addition to that, we now have Ignite, where students are being further mentored, right? And it's a virtual tutorial for students to continue to bridge that gap between instruction in the classroom and so that they can further their education. So in addition to having high quality teachers in the classroom, we have that Ignite program that's just so fabulous. And again, honored to be part of it.
Thank you, Deborah. And Fabi, what does that make you think? Because I know you've been in some of these spaces where you've heard from our core members, you've heard from our alumni, maybe you've gotten to experience a little bit about our programs, but what does that make you think? What is something that stands out to you?
I think the most powerful moment was one time in 2021, and I was talking to, I have several friends who have done Teach for America, and I was talking to this high school teacher, and she thanked all the training, support, and development that she got from Teach for America, because she was sharing that when the pandemic hit and the students had to be sent home, that for some of them it was so hard to even focus on education and logging on online, because students will share that their priorities were very different, that mom, dad had 3 jobs and they were taking care of their younger kids, because now that everyone is home, they had to act like parents. And she shared that if it had not been for the support she got from her Teach for America core group and core members, that she wouldn't know how she could have handled those tough conversations to have, because even for our students, and that's something really hard in this area that I see in our community, the disadvantage, like Deborah was saying, we need to make sure they can compete globally, but the problems are so deeply rooted that we need to make sure that, and that's one thing I feel Teach for America teachers do beautifully, is that this sense of, you can do it, I'm here for you, I've been trained to do this, I'm here to support you. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things and more powerful things that I've experienced since I became involved with Teach for America. That moment of her saying, the support that I've gotten from my Teach for America family made it possible for me to be there for my students, because teachers are people too. They need support, they need to be taken care of.
I absolutely love that and can hear the passion behind both of your stories. And that's what we're about, right? Is every single child in our community is a story. They're not a statistic, they're not a number. And who they are, and in order for them to reach their fullest potential, is something that Teach for America also does, is foster collective impact. And you two are a big part of that. And so we want to invite all of you to part 2 of our podcast in a few, but you can follow us on social media, learn more about Teach for America at www.teachforamerica.org, or on Facebook, Teach for America Rio Grande Valley, and Instagram, TFA RGV. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.